In the NBA, ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reports that James Harden, the former league MVP, turned down an attempt by his current team, the Houston Rockets, to extend his deal by 2 years at $50 million a year, and that he's now focused on getting traded to the Brooklyn Nets. For more on that, let's bring in Stephen A. Smith. So, Stephen A., James Harden, the latest superstar to say, no, I want to be traded, and then name his team. Rafael Stone is the new GM of the Houston Rockets after Daryl Morey left. So welcome to Houston, Mr. Stone. What should he do with the face of the franchise who says he wants out?
Move him. Why would you pay $50 million to somebody that doesn't want to be there? Excuse me, if he wants out, get rid of him, but make sure you get something close to equitable compensation. That would mean at least a couple of star players or very good players approaching stardom, along with multiple draft picks. That's what you need to do. And if you're Harden, let's not speak about him with cynicism in any way, Sage Steele. The man is in the midst of a contract that's paying him nearly $40 million a year. He's being offered an extension on top of that at $50 million per year. 2 years, an additional $103 million, and said to hell with the money while living in a state where you don't get to pay state income taxes. That would be the state of Texas. Okay, the man said, no, I don't want the money. So if ever there was a moment when a guy said, I'm tired of coming up short, that I want the chip, I want a legitimate shot at a championship, he's clearly making that statement by taking the position that he's taking. Let's applaud James Harden for caring that much and not going for the money, because I can give you a whole bunch of names that would have said, to hell with that.
Yeah.
Give me that money.
Yeah, I get that. And by the way, so you say Houston, fine, get rid of him, just get a lot for him. He says, I want to go to Brooklyn. So if you're in charge of the Brooklyn Nets, Stephen A., how much do you give Houston to bring in a guy like James Harden? Is that worth it?
Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, and 3 first-round picks. 3 future first-round picks and those 2 players. Because if you're the Houston Rockets, let's face reality. You had your shot at the crown over the last 5 years. The Golden State Warriors primarily stood in your path. We understand that. That time has come and gone. Yeah. LeBron and AD own the championship now. The Clippers are still coming. The Warriors are coming back with the greatest shooting backcourt known to man in Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Dallas, where Luka's going to be there. Kristaps Porzingis, once he gets there, he's going to help that cause. And oh, by the way, now you got CP3 along with Devin Booker in the Western Conference. Although I don't consider them to be a top 4 team, they're going to make some noise. You're Houston. Your time was there. You missed it. Yep. Now you got to retool. Draft picks and a couple of solid players that could be stars someday. Get them.
We will see if James Harden gets his way, though, and gets to go to Brooklyn. All right. It's Tuesday.
James Harden, who is going to be a staple on this show in upcoming days. Harden has reportedly turned down a 2-year extension from Houston that would pay him $103 million. And I will pause a second so that number can sink in. Now, Harden is still obliged to Houston for the next 2 seasons, but this tells you he wants out. Wilbon, what do you make of Harden turning down, $103 million?
Tony, there's a lot here. There's a whole lot going on with Houston and some things that James Harden clearly doesn't like. Some of it has to do with the team and what's going to be there. Russell Westbrook has asked out. Mike D'Antoni, not there anymore, right? And so Daryl Morey, not there anymore, who put together some teams that at least stayed in contention when James Harden was there. You know, he could go out and find the big star he wanted, whether it was Westbrook or Chris Paul, whomever. There's also political stuff that I'm told, and a lot of us are told, that James Harden isn't thrilled with. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but that seems to be the case as well. So if he feels, you know what, I can still go somewhere, I'm going to make $80 million or so over 2 years subsequently. So not signing up for 103, it's not the loss that it may sound like in headlines. But for basketball purposes, real life, personal purposes, it sounds like James Harden is saying, I don't know if I need to be here. Let me listen to some other things.
I don't know his politics at all. I don't know him at all. $103 million is generational wealth for the next 200 years for anybody with the name Harden. It's a tremendous amount of money. And it was a wow to me that he would do this. He's never won anything. But I want to get to the rest of Houston for a second. Houston at the moment is a dumpster fire. They got a new owner who came in a year or 2 ago and ran his yap about how he was smarter than everybody else. And here's what's happened. Mike D'Antoni is gone. Daryl Morey is gone. And the only 2 players anybody wants to watch now want out of there. Okay, so you're headed for Sacramento land in Houston. No one's going to pay any money to watch your team. It's a desert at some point. So congratulations on the purchase, Mr. Fertitta, because this thing has gone down the drain.
But, Tony, it doesn't have to. And by the way, $86 million, last I checked, if it was 86 or 88 or 9, that's generational wealth too, which is what he could pick up elsewhere. So he's going to have generational wealth. But, Tony, let me say this. If you made a trade and you got the pieces that really mattered to you from Brooklyn, a team that was in the playoffs, right, pre-Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, they've been in the playoffs. They've been competitive. And you supplant those players. Houston knows how far they're going to go with James Harden. Not all that far. Not to a championship. So don't tell me that if James Harden leaves Houston, it's all of a sudden Sacramento. I'm not buying that for a second. If the proper trade is, you're wrong. Yeah. If the proper trade is made. Now, how did Brooklyn get with those guys to the playoffs? Explain that to me.
Brooklyn had a coach that they fired and they brought in 2 new guys, and you don't know what's going to happen in Brooklyn. He doesn't have to end up in Brooklyn. They own him for 2 years. They could send him to Lithuania to play with Lonzo Ball's bad brother, Leandro. They could do whatever they want. He has no leverage. They have leverage.
Oh, he has leverage. He has leverage.
Not as much as they do. They got him for 2 years. He's got a signed deal coming up.
For Russ, I mean, Russ felt like he wasn't getting treated like a superstar in Houston, and he won out, and rightfully so. He's a guy that still have a lot left. He's a superstar. He needs the ball in his hands to be effective, and it just didn't work out with him and James Harden. And what's going to happen is he's going to the Knicks, and the Knicks is finally going to have their superstar in Russell Westbrook. And when you look at James Harden is the Rolls Royce for the Houston Rockets. And the Houston Rockets are not about to trade their Rolls Royce for a Cadillac Escalade and 2 Audi trucks. It's not going to happen. So they're going to stay put. And if they're going to get something back, it's going to be something. It's going to be a player to MVP caliber or something a little below that. But they're not just going to give away James Harden. So right now, I think James Harden is going to be a Houston Rocket, especially to start the season.
And as you said, the Rolls-Royce was, of course, the 2018 league MVP. That award has gone to Giannis Antetokounmpo in each of the last 2 seasons, but Giannis still looking for his first NBA Finals appearance, and Milwaukee made 2 significant trades overnight, bringing in Drew Holiday from the Pelicans and Bogdan Bogdanovic from the Kings. Perk, the Bucks seem to be swinging for the fences here, but how do you believe these moves will impact their chances to finally bring home that first ring for Giannis?
I tell you what, look, the Bucks have done right by Giannis. Getting Drew Holiday, one of the most underrated players in the game today, a guy that is a great 2-way player who could get you 20 points on one end and lock up your best wing or guard offensive player on the other end. And look at Bogdanovic. Listen, this kid could drop buckets anywhere in America. You could put him at the Wellness Center, the YMCA, LA Fitness, and he's going to get buckets. If I'm Giannis, I'm going to sign that Supermax deal and get that lettuce. And right now, to me, if the season started today, the Bucks are the favorite to come out of the East.
Man, if this is Milwaukee season, it'll be their first title in 50 years. Their only title came back in 1971. Perk, as always, appreciate the insight this morning here on SportsCenter. And they are delivering. This morning, Milwaukee reached agreements on acquiring Pelicans guard Drew Holiday. The 30-year-old Holiday averaged 19 points and 7 assists last season. In exchange, New Orleans gets Eric Bledsoe, George Hill, and 3 first-round picks. Then the Bucks made a deal for Bogdan Bogdanovic and Justin James from the Kings. Bogdanovic averaged 15 points per game last season and shot 37% from three-point range. With this move and the Drew Holiday deal announced earlier, the Bucks have made their big splash. Here's the thing, after failing to reach the Eastern Conference Finals, these additions help surround Giannis with more consistent outside shooting and a top 2-way guard in Holiday, and it projects as an upgrade on a lineup that averaged more than 10 points per game, more than opponents last season.